Hong Kong Direct is your weekly racing roundup full of news, views, interviews, previews and special guests. And coming up on the show today, we're looking at Conghua Racecourse in China and the Framework Cooperation Agreement, what that means for Hong Kong racing. We've got a special guest, Bill Nader, here in the studio to take us through that. And also, as we get towards the end of the season, we are seeing a number of star three-year-olds come through the ranks, including Courier Wonder. We'll have a look at some of those and hear from some of the tipsters and the experts around Hong Kong to find out who they like going forward as well. Very warm welcome to the show. I'm Andrew Le Jeune, and as previously mentioned, I'm joined by Bill Nader, Director of Racing Business and Operations here at the Jockey Club, to talk about Conghua. Bill, before we get into the Framework Cooperation Agreement itself, can you give us a little bit of background about what Conghua is, what it's used for at the moment, and how it came to be?
Well, you have to dial it back, Andrew, to the early 1970s in Shenzhen Racecourse. When it was built, it wasn't built to really accommodate where we are today. Racing has grown so much in Hong Kong when you look through the years and the decades to where we are now with 88 race meetings, and this season 834 races. And Shenzhen was built to accommodate a lot of people in the grandstand, 80,000 plus. But in terms of the stabling and training facilities, it really wasn't built to accommodate a population like we have today. So with Happy Valley Racecourse being more hit and run racetrack to go in, race there, and then come back with only monthly barrier trials, the club did look for quite a long time for suitable land in Hong Kong to build another stabling and training venue, but it was almost mission impossible. And eventually the opportunity came up at Conghua, and that was the beginning of the journey. And to give you an idea how long it took from inception to completion, it was really 4 club chairmen. It started with John Chan, who was the chairman at the time when we agreed to go forward with the project. John was very enthusiastic and supportive of it, and it took a lot of courage because it's something outside of the club's comfort zone, to take us into the mainland to build a training venue there and to bring horses back and forth. And with that, we needed to establish the equine disease-free zone so that when horses went to the mainland, they could come back to Hong Kong. That was never allowed before. So from there, it was then Brian Stevenson, who was club chairman. And of course, Brian had a more practical approach and warned us about potential pitfalls. And he was right. I mean, we did have problems with site formation and other issues. It delayed the construction project. Then it went to, as a club chairman, Simon Ip, who was there for a very big moment in club history, the opening ceremony, which took place on the 28th of August, 2018, strategically selected day, the 8th month, the 28th day, 2018. And that was just a great moment in club history. And then finally, it was Anthony Chow as club chairman when we introduced Conghua to the world with the exhibition race meeting that was held on the 23rd of March in 2019. And along the way, at every step, was the club CEO, Winfred Engelbert Preskes, with his finger on the pulse to make sure that we were able to complete it. And finally we did, and we ended up with an absolute magnificent venue, a 2,000-meter turf track, 2 dirt tracks, uphill gallops, spelling paddocks, equine hospital, farrier forge, swimming pool. We have the rehab unit with chilled saltwater spas and an aqua treadmill. So it's an absolutely great place for the horse in a great environment, all nestled in the beautiful Conghua Hot Springs Resort community, which is just breathtaking. So it took a long time to get there, but it was worth it. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle was developing the people. And we did recruit a lot of new staff from in and around Conghua, supported them with a very important piece, which is the Hong Kong experienced staff that went up there to help guide them along. And we learned that the mainland staff, we quickly learned that they were very motivated, very dedicated, and really wanted to build a future for themselves. And we now have a very capable working team there. And the last piece was convincing then owners and trainers to buy in, which sounds easy now that we know it's working. But in the beginning, that was a bit of a challenge. But now, fortunately, with all the momentum from Conghua, that part is behind us.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of important points. I've heard jockeys say that it's one of the best surfaces they've ridden on. As far as the area is concerned, that it is a tourist area in its own right. And just talk about the history and how it's come to pass. There's no hyperbole attached when you say this is an historic moment that we've come to now. So what is the cooperation framework agreement, and what does it mean going forward?
Well, it's another big moment and a milestone moment, because it shows when we first started, it was about really developing a mutual cooperation to develop the Greater Bay Area. And now I think this framework agreement memorializes that. And from our part, it means to bring to Guangzhou and Conghua an international standard of racing. We'll continue to now build out the stable complex to the maximum number. So that will take place in the coming years. We currently have over 600 stables in Hong Kong in terms of capacity. That will go to over 1,000. We'll add another swimming pool, and the big piece is we'll add a grandstand. So we'll make that continued investment. From the Guangzhou side, they will build us a second access road, which is critically important in terms of getting people in and out of the racecourse. And lastly, the value chain, which is, I think, just a fancy way of saying to find opportunities that are of mutual interest, and I think there will be many as we move forward. That could take on a number of potential opportunities, and we look forward to doing that, because the club is very motivated to fulfill the obligation of trying to make the most of the Greater Bay Area and develop an equine industry in the Guangzhou region.
So you said 2025 is sort of the kickoff point. We're looking to see competitive racing there. Will they be extra meetings then, as we've got a bigger population, or will it be meetings instead of will Happy Valley take a week off or something like that, or these will be additions to the program already?
Well, I think that's one of the real assets that Conghua brings to us, is it leads us to expansion. Because of the additional stabling capacity, we can continue to grow the population and have additional race meetings. So I would say that in Hong Kong, the 88 race meetings that we currently enjoy, there'd be no change there. But the additional race meetings could take place at Conghua. In 2025, we anticipate that we would have probably one race meeting in the 24-25 season, most likely around April of 2025. And we would look to probably develop, coming back to the framework agreement in the international standard of racing, we would probably look to develop one of our Class 1 races into a Group 3 race, which is very doable in the time frame that we're talking about, so that it would be ready in 2025, possibly leading in as a prep to Champions Day. So that's something that we have on the radar. And then from there, after the 24-25 season with maybe one race meeting, then we could look to then in the 25-26 season up the ante. It could be anywhere from maybe 4 to 7 additional race meetings, and then come up with a 5-year vision as we get closer to see how we might want to ramp up.
You mentioned the grandstand as well, which has got to be built. It's no small task in its own right. How do you see Conghua, the racecourse itself, developing? Is it going to be sort of in the mould of Sha Tin, or sort of a combination? Are we expecting something new in terms of the look and feel of the racecourse itself?
Well, it's a hot springs resort town, so it wouldn't be the size of Sha Tin, no. It would be more capacity in terms of on-course attendance would be more in the region of maybe 7,000 to 8,000 max. So it might be maybe a smaller version of a Happy Valley, but certainly that's a big investment. When you look at the investment the club has made in Phase 1, now we'll call this Phase 2, it's significant to build that grandstand, and it shows our commitment to the international standard of racing in Conghua. And with the additional stabling capacity, there's no certainty as to the number of meetings that might be there in the next, from 2026 to 2030. But I think it's a pretty good bet that it would be an increasing number and would only add to the total number when you combine Sha Tin, Happy Valley with Conghua. So to that end, the future is very bright. And most important thing I think that Conghua does for Hong Kong is it provides the very necessary support to sustain what we currently have here. When you look at the growth of racing over the last 20 years in Hong Kong, it's been quite substantial. And now with 88 race meetings and 830 plus races, it would not be possible today without Conghua, and it certainly wouldn't be possible in the years to come without Conghua. So Conghua serves two purposes. One, sustaining the level of racing in Hong Kong, and also providing future opportunities in the mainland.
You touched on the exhibition meeting that we had there, which I was lucky enough to go along to as well. That was an exhibition in the sense that there was prize money and races were won, but there was no betting. The way you're speaking now, I'm assuming there'll be wagering in the future. Is that still a work in progress? Well,
we use the word exhibition, but really the word is professional. So what we did previously, those were races that had prize money and were run on the same standard as if those races were run in Hong Kong. The only missing element was the wagering component. Going forward, I'm not sure. It's a big question. It's an important question. But I'm going to give you a very simple answer. I don't think any of us really know what that might look like. But certainly with the grandstand there and with the commitment to additional race meetings, hopefully it might be something that will develop, but it's uncertain at this time.
Yeah, everything when I speak to, it's all positive. All the trainers that send their horses up there, they all come back with positive experience. And anecdotally, it's been a major success. I'm sure the stats back that up as well in terms of the horses that go up and come back and are winning races here. Just away from Conghua for a moment, Bill, because we're running out of time rapidly. I know you're a driving force behind the international horses that come here to compete in Hong Kong as well. We've got some big meetings coming up this weekend in the UK and in Japan, and then a big summer of festivals as well. I'm sure we'll be hoping to see some of those stars out here next season as well, would you?
Yeah, it's great for us to be able to see these races because we can then scout and really identify potential candidates that would come here in December for the Hong Kong International races or even any of our Group 1 races that follow. But the races that we're talking about, the Epsom Derby, the Yasuda Kinnan with Grand Allegria, and of course the French Derby, which not only might identify horses that can come to some of our bigger races, but sometimes the French Derby leads to horses that are just imported into our normal population. So going forward from this weekend and what we have coming up over the summer is very exciting. I mean, that's a breakthrough for the club. Normally, in the past, there's been no simulcast allowed from the 17th of July through the end of August. Now we will have 12 simulcast days during that period, and we'll be able to showcase some of the premier races, particularly in Europe, that will be of great interest to our fan base in Hong Kong, and also give them a chance to do the same thing that we're doing, scout those horses and get an idea of who they are and where they might fit if they do come here in December.
Yeah, Grand Allegria Golden 60, wouldn't that be something over the mile? That's something to look forward to. But Bill, thanks for the insight today. Fantastic stuff. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks very much.
There you go. That's Bill Nader, Director of Racing Business Operations here at the Jockey Club, talking about Conghua and the progress and what the future holds, 2025 for the racing to go on there. Still plenty more to come here on the show. Up next for us, we're looking to the future still, but with the 3-year-olds here in Hong Kong who are the best. We're still very much looking ahead here on Hong Kong Direct. As we get towards the end of the season, a number of 3-year-olds have already put their foot forward as maybe stars for next season. So in a moment, we'll hear from some of Hong Kong's journalists, analysts, Hong Kong's finest in actual fact, their thoughts on the best 3-year-olds so far. But here's a little teaser as to some of the stars we've already seen.
Courier Wonder, he's holding, he's delivering vases now, the Courier. Courier Wonder won the vase. Fantastic Treasure, he starts roaring home, he just finds a way to win. Fantastic Way, he's a length and a half on the runner, and Fantastic Way beat the runner and like that. Winner Method's coming through strongly, the money's going to be right. Brilliant Fortune gave him a scare but couldn't beat him. Killer B is starting to roar home now. Killer B comes and stung him at the line. Carroll Street looks to be going better. Winner Method doesn't seem to have too much of a response. Carroll Street is going to win. Master 8 the leader. Fireball is 4 lengths away. What is expected on debut and bolt in.
Well, I think there's only one horse to be looking at, really. I mean, we've had some fantastic 3-year-olds come through the system, but the one that's really stood out for me is Courier Wonder. I mean, he's gone from October operating very low up to over 100 now. He's won at Group 3 level. He's just been incredibly impressive in the way in which he's done it as a 3-year-old. So I'm extremely excited about how he's going to come back. Not to say that we haven't seen, you know, another one there as Master 8. I was more than taken with as well, but we've only seen him once so far, and I don't know that we've seen them all at this stage of even the end of the season. We might have one coming up next weekend possibly, so there's a lot of exciting young 3-year-olds to look forward to, but Courier Wonder is a standout horse.
Looking forward to seeing Killer B back at the races next season. Very exciting horse from Casper Foundyard. He's only had the 4 starts. His last 2 wins I thought were brilliant, especially last start where he was caught really wide. You don't see many horses do that. I like the way he kept onto the line, and he just looks like an exciting talent on the way forward. That win a couple of starts ago where he looked like he couldn't win and then got up late was pretty incredible. I just love the way he kept trying last start. He obviously has a turn of foot, but he's obviously got a big heart as well.
Well, I think certainly plenty for 3-year-olds to choose from this season as horses to follow next year. Some of them are quite obvious. I've gone for one that I think might be a little less obvious, and it's a horse who won 2 out of 2 in Australia but hasn't won yet in Hong Kong in 2 starts, and his name is War Weapon. Trained by Casper Founds. He was gelded after his first run, which was only just a pass mark. But his second run, we saw him unleash a brilliant last 400 metres and 200 metres. It was a fast run race won by Dublin Star, and I think a lot of people would have watched that finish thinking, gee, Dublin Star's finished fast. Well, War Weapon was 4 lengths behind him at the 200 metre mark and was beaten 1 length. So he has reeled off a brilliant last 200, and I think he's shaping as a horse who will get out over a mile at least, and I think that puts him right in the picture for a race like the Classic Mile.
I would love to nominate any of the great young sprinters we've got coming up. Courier Wonder, Killer B, all those, the obvious ones, very exciting time for them, but the horse I'm really excited about is Fantastic Treasure in the mile category and maybe beyond for David Hayes. He's done a fabulous job this season, winning 5 in a row and rising through the classes. I think he's got real scope to be a real contender next year. I think he's just got that touch of real class. He's mercurial. He can find himself in trouble and get himself out, as he did when he won his last start, back on the rails with Chad. And the horse's will to win, to go through gaps, showed a real desire and a real competitiveness.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Master 8 can do. He's a jump and run sprinter from the Frankie Law stable, and it looks like he's got exceptional ability. I really think he can progress and get to a 3-figure rating, and I know his jockey Joe Moreira is very excited about the future. He just jumped straight to the front, controlled the race and kicked away to win by about just over 3 lengths. It was very impressive, and it looks like he's got a lot of upside.
I wouldn't disagree with any of what was said there, and interesting that Joe was actually on quite a number of those horses as well, so there's plenty for Joe to look forward to next season as well. There's plenty to look forward to for him this weekend as well, because we have a quick look ahead to race number 8 on the programme, and you'll see some familiar names here. Winner Method, who was just mentioned there, big rating here off 80 Zach Perkins, who's giving weight to the field, but there's other 3-year-olds in the field. I'm a Single Man, who hasn't managed to win just yet here in Hong Kong, but Rock Your Heart making his debut for Francis Lloyd. Jack Wong rides him. The 2 trials, he's looked all right. I Am 30 was his name when he's trained by the guys in Australia. Trust Me, Beauty Miko, Diamond Brilliant, Drops of God is the one that stands out there, with one Joe Moreira on his back once more. Very impressive, winning on debut, beating Victory Scholars, who actually goes round in race number 7 on the programme. I think the horse that Jenny was talking about as well when she said maybe we'll see another one this weekend was Lucky With You, who also goes round in the 7th, trained by David Hayes. But let's just stick with Drops of God and get Joe's thoughts about the weekend.
Joe, you've ridden some really nice first starters this season. How did you rate Drops of God's debut against them?
Another one, very nice one. He's done it in a good way at his first run, and we couldn't ask for more than what he did. You know, he's such a professional horse.
Much harder field this week. He showed plenty of early speed on debut, but he's also been ridden back in the trials. Do you need to go forward in Class 3, or are you happy to go back if you need to?
If I need to, I'm happy to go back. He seems to be a bit versatile type of a horse, and off a light weight, I guess he's going to be able to hit the line very strong. You know, it is a strong race. He's up in class, but I think the light weight on his back is going to appreciate that, and we just about find out if he's up to the class. I believe he is, and I'm quite excited to be sitting on his back on the weekend once again.
You won by 2 lengths on debut. Was there plenty more to give if you had have needed it?
Yes, plenty left in the tank, and we wonder why size back him up in 2 weeks' time. You know, that means he kind of felt that the horse done what he needed to do without overdoing at his first attempt. So he's another horse that no doubt people should keep their eyes on him because he seems quite promising.
Promising indeed. And John Size won behind Casper Found as they go into the weekend in the Trainers' Title race as well. He's getting £16 off Winner Method. That might be the difference. But interesting, Winner Method up to the 1,200 metres. First time he's tried that trip as well. I think he was probably looking for it last time out when he was beaten by Carroll Street. All right, so that's race number 8 on a big day's racing at Sha Tin. 12:15, we're on air for a 12:45 at first. Happy Valley Wednesday night, then back again to Sha Tin a week on Sunday. But remember, following week, no Happy Valley. It's Royal Ascot's that week. So there's a blank week as far as local racing is concerned, but plenty to enjoy with horses potentially being sold up here to Hong Kong or coming for the international meetings later in the year. Well, that's the show. Thanks for watching. Just about run out of time. We're going to leave you this week with, so we're looking ahead to the 3-year-olds making their mark. Some of the older horses will retire at the back end of the season. One of those is Singapore Sling. So we're going to look back and enjoy his Classic Cup win back in 2018 for Chad Schofield and Tony Millard, beating none other than the mighty Exultant. So enjoy this. We'll see you again on Sunday. Bring all the action from Hong Kong directly.
On the inside of Rivet, and Dr. Jeff is last of all. The Golden Age is trotting along on the lead as they sweep down the side at the 800. The Golden Age by 2 lengths. Riven's now gone to a clear-cut second. 2 further back, Singapore Sling's had a lovely run. Followed then by a Grand Chancellor who's 4th. Beauty Miles is covering ground. More Than Lucky. Exultant's very close midfield. Nothing I Like More. Moreira's getting onto the back of Purton. He's going to have to ride for luck. He's in a little bit of dire straits here. Rat and Goldfield Rivet and Dr. Jeff. The Golden Age swinged into the stretch with a length advantage over Riven. Singapore Sling. Nothing I Like More. Picking up speed down near the rail with Ratton. Then Exultant further out. It's still the Golden Age. Singapore Sling. He wants vengeance for defeat in the Classic Mile. Race to a narrow lead from the Golden Age. Then Exultant. Nothing I Like More can't win, but Singapore Sling careering away with the Classic Cup.